Yeah, I was just going to say that, like, in my experience, like, institutions themselves generally have a hard time creating interdisciplinarity across the board. It's a real challenge to get the buy-in. As Cory and I were talking about doing something like sustainability, embedding it into an English program, and having that kind of rhetoric apply in the same direction in an engineering program, and getting everybody on the same page. Like, that may be very logistically difficult. And so what we've seen at UBC is primarily the programs themselves can be very interdisciplinary, can do that very, very well. I think that leads back to Tristan's great bicycle things. You know, to achieve those global approaches, maybe it is being more foundational in the way that we approach our language and methodology, being able to switch our hats, you know, as we speak. So I don't really view like a mutant language, I view like you just change your language based on who you're speaking to. And that eases the transition, those like connections between those hard edges, or hard silences.
I think it takes more time than we realize to become interdisciplinary. So when we look at it in the academic framework where they want you in and out, like that was undergrad, and the same with like in the masters they want you moving through. You know, like this is not, you know, a place just to hang out. It's a place to learn and to bring your knowledge to the rest of the world. But it does take additional amount of time. I mean, we have the multidisciplinary approach. You can just take courses, but then you have to go the extra step. We need to somehow have a project that I work with geographers, with historians, with this and that, so I maybe can have a better view, because as a student, if we look at it from a student standpoint, they'd be crazy to think you become interdisciplinary over 4 years. Yeah. And in addition to knowing something about a particular field. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, and then to do a master's, an extra 2 years. I mean, you need to extend the amount, because becoming interdisciplinary, I think, is such a wrong thing to think of in an academic setting. It is a lifelong experience. The most interdisciplinary people I know are the people that are my professors, or my colleagues that I work with that are, you know, 40, 50, 60 years old, because they've gone through different things. They've gone through those connections. So I almost feel like sometimes when we're at this stage that we're trying to push too much upon ourselves, because it does take time. These are things that need to, you know, kind of marinate over time so that we can, you know, have a good final product. But at the same time, we need to say, are we just kind of not looking at it? So we need to somehow incorporate it. But time is of essence.
I think in terms of academic institutions, being in my first semester here, Guelph raves about the fact that they have this interdisciplinary international development program. And engineers can be a part of it, historians and economics students. And I do not have one poli-sci class, not one. So I'm going to get a master's in political science, international development, but I haven't taken a political science class. So is it really beneficial to say that I have a political science MA? It's not. And so they've gone so beyond interdisciplinary that I don't have a discipline. And it's confusing and frustrating.
I think that's going to have to actually be the last question. We'll wrap it up. If any of the participants have a final comment other than the final comments that just made.
I wish there were 36 hours in a day that gave me opportunity to go beyond what I need to know.
I just think probably what I'm learning from all of you is that it's not just a double vision, maybe it's a lot of layers of vision. We're trying to look at things at the same time, simultaneously, through a lot of different lenses, and I think that skill is really good. We can get a skill of being able to look at something and see it as a discipline and as part of the bigger picture, as something small and something big, as something, you know, that skill, which takes time to learn and that, you know, is really hard, that might be useful.
I think it's also an expectation that is, I mean, inherent in our society, that we expect people to know other things. When I talk to someone, they don't want to hear engineering talk. They want to hear what they're talking about. So it's for me to talk about it. So it's for me to go the extra step. So when we apply for a job, many times, you know, they may not explicitly say, oh, by the way, I would love for you to know something about this. They expect you to know that. And I think I think we're just almost creating a word for our expectation from our society that we've had for such a long time, that we want everybody to know everything because we want to talk to everybody. We're very very social society, because that's what society is. And it's expectations that we're living up to. So I think it's kind of, that's why I struggle with this term, because sometimes I feel people are expecting me already to be an interdisciplinary approach because they want me to know what they know. That's the way it is.
Yeah. What I think about when I'm attempting to try and speak to someone in a way, for me that's always the problem that I'm always trying to be conscious of. I think as academics, I've been taught by a lot of people, and there have been a few that I'm thankful who have taught me otherwise, but to really privilege the position that I'm speaking from over, there's this kind of, I'm here speaking, and then there's this person over here that I'm teaching, and 0.0001% of all people in undergrad go on to do graduate work. And so there's something going on in this listening thing, and the work that I've done with the people that I've worked with, I've learned a tremendous amount of importance comes from actually privileging the listening position over the speaking position. And I think within the university, there's a kind of enunciative kind of tyranny that goes on where there's all this sort of, the way in which people are speaking, but also I think more importantly, the position that they're speaking from is not considering what's going on from the listener's perspective. And I think if you maybe try and reverse that situation into maybe a more interdisciplinary. So again, I use that word really cautiously. Into that type of moment where people are coming together and are attempting to work collaboratively. Because I think that my last statement will be is I think inherent, if there is going to be an interdisciplinary, there has to be some degree of co-creativity going on. And if you're having a degree of co-creativity, there has to be some sort of engagement with the power that I'm coming from here, the power that you're coming from here. What is structuring these two types of things? Because regardless of how I want to talk about what I'm doing, it's still being structured by this outside force, this thing called the university. So,
You've had your say?
I think with that, like,
Well, that was